if you want to do things successfully, it's creating habit around it and actually using that innate thing within us to be spending our time doing what we want to be doing or achieving the outcomes we want to achieve. And you're never going to achieve them all. I won't. I definitely will not live my life and achieve everything that I wished I could. I'll make the best journey that I can. I will try to take a different approach tomorrow to try to get a better outcome, but it's highly unlikely that you have it all. And even the people that you look at who look like they have it all probably don't if you actually sit down and talk to them. So yeah, I think we become trapped by our habits at times. And I think especially when there's so much change going on around us, you alluded to that with the nervousness that we all feel of, yeah, but is AI going to take my job? Mm-hmm. And the answer might be maybe. And so you need to accept and think that in an evolving world, you don't have to be comfortable with change, but you have to accept it to a degree.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lunid, and today I am super excited for our guest of honor, Tim Townsend. He is one of Australia's most respected voice in financial advice and leadership. From growing up on a remote island as the son of a lighthouse keeper to co-founding Townsend Cobain, a national recognized wealth advisory firm in Melbourne. Tim's journey has always centered on one belief: people matter most. And who can't relate to that? We're putting people first, especially during these financial uncertainties. And so Tim is going to dive into what that looks like and his experience being in the field and for over 30 years. So with no further ado, Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Lynette. Pleasure to join you.
I'm so honored. We love a hero's journey. Tell us how you got started. I know it's been a while.
I think you give more credit than I possibly deserve, but thank you.
Tell us, yeah.
Now, go on. How we got started? Look, to be honest with you, an eclectic journey, as very often these things are. It wasn't with a specific outcome in mind. Opportunity to experience a range of things in different directions, but led me to the point where the concept of personal advice and engaging with real people presented itself, and based on that background and a range of other experiences, put me in the position to do something that I was passionate about. And I think that it's the old story. If you can do something that you love, you'll never work another day in your life.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like work because you're enjoying yourself so much. You're having so much fun, and sometimes that is hard to come by. That to find that purpose. Now you have a guiding principle where for you it's people matter most, especially when it comes to talking finances and financial advising, and even like talking about that whole realm. Are you managed to live by that principle?
Well, I'd love to say that it's a very egalitarian approach. It's because I care for the good of others and things like that. And I'd like to think that there's elements of that. But there's also a personal belief that through other people's success, you can create your own. It's interesting. We're charged, especially in leadership roles, you're charged with bringing people on a journey with you. And I think if you can create an environment where people truly understand that you are there for them, if you are there to improve their position and through their success find your own, it's an environment that I find people want to be a part of, be that my clients or our clients as a practice, because it is a culture that we share.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's our clients or whether it's our actual team itself, you can create a really positive environment. And I think, having worked as long as I have, I've certainly come across people that have never discovered that. I find that in particular in large groups, it's easy for people to become self-interested, excuse me, self-serving, and actually think that that's going to give them a better outcome at the end of the day. Look, and sometimes it works, but you kind of look at it and figure out that everybody else understands who the people are that care in the room.
Yeah, there is a proverb that says if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go further, go together, right? Go with someone else. And that's that notion you're alluding to is in how to build that team dynamic, that cohesiveness, right? Get buy-in from everyone involved.
And it does come back to, we live in a world, especially with technology and that, where we introduce more and more KPIs to try to manage people, to get the best out of people. And sometimes we're so busy creating another KPI, we don't stop and focus on the why
Mm.
and share the why together. Because, it's only through the why that everything makes sense. If it works and it measures up to what you're trying to create together, you can easily recognize the right pathways to take. And I think, Simon Sinek, YouTube provider, and I always remember him doing a wonderful TED talk on this particular issue. And it was really focuses on this. We've forgotten how to focus on the why, and our environment that we're in actually starts to lose sight of some of those issues if you're not careful.
And it affects the bottom line.
Yeah, well, exactly, it does. And, it's interesting you should point that out again, because a lot of people go, oh, well, that must mean that, you're very caring and giving. And as I say, I would like to think I am. But there is also a motivation of personal success in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm with you 100% and agree because I've seen that the culture of the workplace has changed because of that. One, the rising of AI, right? People are going obsolete because AI is moving in. And it's quite scary. And because of that, I find that employers are struggling to build that culture that we're talking about, right? Because it's almost like going back to the basics, going back to the fundamentals of what it takes to operate a successful business. But to some, it seems so costly initially. But I think once we get the gears working, we can start seeing the benefits as you just mentioned.
You can. It's never easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And for many of us, I think the other thing is a recognition that in any group of people, there are people that want to drive outcomes, make a difference, be leaders. And there are lots of people that are more comfortable to just come, be part of it, and go home. And
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. Because if everybody was scratching around at the top of the pyramid, there isn't room for us all.
Right.
Neither is there peace and harmony for us all. That there are different motivations from people, and recognizing, respecting, and nurturing those different areas of need and want, I think becomes a big part of building teams,
Mm-hmm.
effective teams.
Yeah. So tell us about the steps. I imagine that was one of them. Any other steps that you took to grow Townsend Cobian? I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
No, Townsend Cobain. Cobain.
Combine.
Yeah, you're
Thank
fine.
you.
You're fine, Lynette. Um,
Into a leading, Australian wealth management. What are some of the strategies you used?
Look, I think one of the keys for us, and it was a culmination for me. I mean, it was only 13 years ago we started this practice. Um, and I think one of the things that the years had taught me was the importance of focus.
Mhm.
The tendency is when you start a business, you want to be everything to everybody,
Mhm.
and you end up being nothing to nobody
Yeah.
because you're so all over the place. So, what's the definition of a client? Are they breathing? Unless you're an undertaker, and then possibly you might have a different criteria, but you get the picture.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas, for us, I think we started with a very clear model of for what we were doing and what we were willing to offer. Um, we knew we needed to be focused on a certain type of delivery, and it's interesting. It's almost like this crossroads, and again, technology pushes you this direction. You can either be something to many, or you can be a lot to a few. And if you don't figure out which one of those you're trying to do, you can end up getting quite lost because you're not really being effective. So being effective, being focused, um, look, there is an element of be passionate. It's amazing how, I think one of the greatest things that people want is they actually want to come across passion.
Mhm.
Somebody who appears and looks excited. And I learned that as a very young advisor. I was writing and looking after quite a lot of people back in the 90s. And, once people had actually made a commitment to be with us, I started to ask that question of why. Why would you want to give your life savings to somebody who, let's be frank, didn't look that old at all? And the common, in different words, the common issue that came back was about passion.
Mm.
You look like you believe. You seem like you believe. And I did because I did believe, but the point being is people seem to gravitate to that sort of approach.
You live and breathe it, per se, and you believe it, and therefore it's a lot easier to get people to see
I think
the
so.
products.
Well, be it products, be it, I mean, I can't promote and sell what I don't believe in. Um, And if you do, if you're working in a job, it's just a job, but you're being asked to promote stuff that you don't believe in,
Hmm.
start looking.
Hmm.
Find a place where you can. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, okay, so I have to go and do that to be really, really successful. Really successful is not measured in money. One thing I know for sure, we all come into this world buck naked and we go out exactly the same. And there is no pockets in the shroud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the definition. It's taken me years of being on the journey with so many other people to learn this. The definition is the quality of the life you get to live. The financial side can be fuel for the journey, but it's the quality of the life that you're living. And that is always an ongoing journey. I've never come across somebody who goes, well, I'm just perfect
Hmm.
in a believable way. And I think that, that it's from a financial point of view, helping people enjoy that journey. And their willingness to share those experiences back to us is a real blessing.
Yeah. The financial piece of it is the byproduct, is what I'm hearing. You find the success by the quality of life that you're living, by finding the passion, finding a true passion, and then living through passion, and then everything else. It sounds like through that is a byproduct will fall into place.
And look, it's not always, sometimes you've got to lift it. There's an interesting question that I know you build your podcasts around about the morning habits, and I'll get to that in a while. But I think it actually points out the things that you have to go and do if you want to create that outcome. Everybody,
Hmm.
people can be very, oh, look, it's wonderful to see a natural public speaker or something like that. There's nothing natural. It's training. It's practice. It's getting up out and having a go and doing something.
Hmm. Now, you've been recognized 5 times in the Financial Standard Power 50. Now, that's your perspective. And you as an influential advisor, let's talk about some of the things that set you apart, or financial leaders apart, especially in this like fast changing industry. Let's think about with AI now, right? Like this day and
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. Well, again, a wonderful tool, good and bad. We can all tell stories about, it'll take over the world or whatever. And, there's probably some truth in everything, really.
Mhm.
But again, it's just another opportunity to embrace and that willingness to know that you never have all the answers. You're constantly looking over the bow of your boat, asking yourself how to do it differently, how to do it better. And, especially like for someone like myself, as you get older, there's that temptation to think that, oh, well, no, I've done it all, or I've got it all, or whatever. But it's an absolute, it's a pleasure to have something new to learn again,
Yeah.
even though you feel a bit lost and it's being comfortable in the discomfort. It's actually thinking that, things are changing around us, and they are. And I think you made mention before, AI makes people nervous about their work, and maybe, but the one thing I would recommend is that we should all be questioning all the time. What are we doing? And that's not easy, because some people just hate change.
Hmm.
They want to do tomorrow what they did yesterday. They want to do it over and over again, and they find comfort in that. And these will always prove uncomfortable times. Mind you, just like it has every other time through society's history. I can go back and name time after time where you see significant changes in the way things work. People have to move with it, or are forced to move with it.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that we all lose as a result. We live, if you look back, even I was born in 1960. And if you look back, there's a terrific book that I was reading a little while ago, and basically it compared everything from 1960 to today. You know how people, as we age, you fall into that trap of going, well, things were better in my day. Were they? Were they really? Not if we actually measure the numbers and the number of children who never made it to 5 years of age in 1960.
Right.
Massive difference to what it is today. Now, is it perfect? No, but it gives you positivity about life. I always joke about the fact of I'm always amazed by our human race's ability to overcome our own silly mistakes.
Mm.
If you go back, you look at the last 100 years of how things have changed and things that happened, and for goodness sake, we had world wars and we had a huge range of challenges, yet we come through. Not everybody, to be fair, but largely as a society, we keep moving forward. And, we get a little bit pepped up about the moment without looking to the horizon a little bit more. It's one of the reasons I never studied history, but I read a lot more of it today than I used to, because by reading history, it gives me comfort of today.
Mm.
There's nothing surprising.
Right.
Most of it has happened before in some ways, in different versions, and we'll get through this change once again as we go forward. So, you asked about how do you influence and so forth. I think one of the keys is willing to be available. You've got to keep pushing yourself if you want, acknowledgement, like the most influential advisors in the country. Influencing, I think, mainly because I'm interested in other people.
Mhm.
And I'm always thinking that they've got something to tell me that I don't know.
Mm-hmm. We realize like the more we know, the more we realize we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, the world doesn't judge you harshly for that. In fact, it's interesting, you get these people, the know-it-alls. We actually feel uncomfortable with people like that normally.
Mm-hmm. They're
But
dangerous.
well, they are dangerous, because they don't probably, but their inability to be able to question themselves makes them dangerous individuals. Whereas, I think the willingness, because it especially in a world where we're losing human contact,
Mm.
I mean, like I say, I love technology. I think it's fantastic. But mark my words, there's a reason that we're getting so much mental health issues right around the world, and yet people have got all these friends on the platforms.
Yeah, all these
Um,
followers.
the followers, you know what I mean? We all feel they're supposedly more connected and disconnected at the same time.
Yeah, and more very lonely. It's a very lonely world.
It is an incredibly lonely world, and so how do you fix that? That's my point about the influencing, is willing to be available, willing to step outside the comfort zone, put yourself in positions, go to a meeting, go where human beings gather, because as an animal, I think we need that human contact to find ourselves and be comfortable with ourselves as well. Now, I say
Mhm.
that all the introverts are shuddering online at this point in time and going, I just love it being here
Yeah.
online. Now, you've got to
Yeah.
remember, you're talking to someone that lives in Melbourne, Australia. Now, we have a world record in Melbourne, Australia, the most locked down city in the world through COVID.
Mm.
We spent nearly 2 years sitting in our basements.
Wow.
It was, and I can tell you now, the impact. I mean, there was good, again, like everything, there was good and bad. You actually saw families that learned to play together again
Yeah.
because they didn't have anyone else to play with.
Yeah.
And so you actually got that impact of positives, but there was also an awful lot. It accelerated the loneliness. You had people on Zoom meetings that I swear never put pants on. I'm not sure, but
Well,
I will not ask you to stand up, Lenny. It's okay.
do not. Oh, what a pleasure. And you are absolutely right. And I want to talk about, you said the change. Change is hard, and I want to tap into our habits now. People who are afraid of changing, or not afraid, who don't like changes, but are okay with doing what they did yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Well, that's the brain really protecting them, right? That's the brain protecting us, or keeping things familiar, putting things on autopilot for us, so that we don't think too much, because all the information would overwhelm us, info overload essentially. But as you said, there's good and bad to it, and that's the thing too with habit building. Sometimes we will drive home and don't remember how we got there, because
Yeah,
again, subconscious mind has put that route into autopilot that we could literally probably drive while we sleep, and we're like, what just happened? Our mind was wandering, but we somehow, our physical being got us there. It's amazing the way the mind works. It is quite powerful in that way, and I see a lot of people just kind of succumb to that, just take it as you say. They do not try to learn a new thing. Try brushing your teeth with your less dominant hand tomorrow. That will trip
yeah,
your brain. That alone will trip your brain, because it's so focused on habit, autopilot, just to protect you, essentially.
absolutely. And it was interesting to hear the word succumb to that,
Hmm.
as if it's foisted upon us. And it is to a degree. It's not a conscious thought. We don't choose it necessarily. Um, but it's like most things in life, which, if you want to do things successfully, it's creating habit around it and actually using that innate thing within us to be spending our time doing what we want to be doing or achieving the outcomes we want to achieve. And you're never going to achieve them all. I won't. I
Hmm.
definitely will not live my life and achieve everything that I wished I could. I'll make the best journey that I can. Um, I will try to take a different approach tomorrow to try to get a better outcome, but it's highly unlikely that you have it all. And even the people that you look at who look like they have it all probably don't if you actually sit down and talk to them. So yeah, I think we become trapped by our habits at times. And I think especially when there's so much change going on around us, you alluded to that with the nervousness that we all feel of, yeah, but is AI going to take my job?
Hmm.
And the answer might be maybe. Um, and so you need to accept and think that in an evolving world, you don't have to be comfortable with change, but you have to accept it to a degree,
Mm-hmm.
and be available to it as best you can. And some people are better at it than others, but it's about being available to it, I think, that opens that door to opportunity. Because here's the interesting point. I'm a massive believer in no change comes when we're comfortable.
Yep. Me too.
You just, yeah, it's through pain, it's through worry, it's through fear. These are the emotions that actually enable us to evolve and change. If it's just comfortable doing what you were doing yesterday, you'll keep doing what you were doing yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all, at the end of the day, want to be comfortable, I think.
Mm-hmm. To the notion of will AI take your job, I heard this interesting quote on the onset of like AI popping off. AI will not take your job, but someone using AI will.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think, I mean, even now, we're searching around and asking ourselves, and we live in a business. Remember I said earlier on about Townsend and it's a business focused. It lives by the mantra of personal service in a depersonalizing world. I figured out quite a while ago that, the next amount of tech and so forth, we process everything to the nth degree and we lose that personal contact. And so my focus, our focus, Rod Cobain, my business partner, and myself, our focus was to be a deliverer of personal service in a depersonalizing world. Now, what that means is I answer this myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I answer it with knowledge of the person on the other end of the phone.
Yeah.
There are very few professionals left in our lives that do that. Now, it takes a bit of thinking about, well, hang on, how do you build a business model that can sustain that? Because in truth, if you're going to deliver personal service, you have a limited amount of spots on your bus, in your airplane. And that's something I do quite a lot of public speaking about now. And it's not saying the automated process isn't right. The automated, one thing it does is it gives us cheaper service.
Mm.
But it also exposes us all to those immortal words of your call is important to us,
Mm-hmm.
but not important enough to employ enough staff to answer the phone.
Right.
And I get it, because by removing the people, you reduce the cost, you can charge less for the service. But it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's satisfied. And so I
Yeah.
think, this focus of personal service, how do you set yourself up if that's what you want to do? And neither way is right or wrong. I mean, in truth, the practice that I run probably is set up to service no more than 5% of the Australian population. And the use of technology, the use of systems and so forth will actually deliver service to the rest of the population,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not in a position to be able to pay for the limited spots on my bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Understanding that is an important part.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about morning routines. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
Look, there's nothing magical in that. Although there is one thing, I thought about that, because I thought, I'd love to tell you that I do a 10-mile run every morning, and, I'm in there sweating in the sauna, or something that inspires people, like, oh my gosh. Trouble is, with all that rubbish, it makes everyone else feel inadequate.
Mm.
I hate it when I see speakers
Yeah.
do that. And probably I can say, that I don't have those things. But there is one thing that I thought of that is an every morning habit for me and always has been. I tell myself I'm fantastic.
Mm.
Literally, I I have a theory in life, start high and let them drag you down,
Mm.
and end up in a pretty good spot. But
Right.
if you can't, even when you're not, and this is important, even when you're not, tell yourself that you are. actually just pause just for a second, look in the mirror and go, it's going to be a fantastic day. And even better if you verbalize it. And that's a really good place to start in getting your attitude right. And so I suppose my morning routine is that, I get a lot of nice comments about, oh, you've got great energy and all that sort of stuff. It's not always real, Lynette. It's not always real. It's sometimes me fake it till I make it.
Yeah.
Welcome to living the life we all live.
And
Sometimes
it's in the right direction. It's in the right direction. Because as you said, if you start at a deficit, they will drag you to the mud. But if you verbalize it, get it out there, we call that morning affirmations that we say as part of the morning routine. That's how you show up. That's how you dress up, because it's all about the mental, the psyche. That's what you're dressing up, it sounds like, right? Because if you can get the mind right, then no one can come against that.
No, I think, and if they do, they'll chip away at it. Don't get me wrong. Life chips away.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other keys there is I always dress for the job I want, not the one I've got. Visual counts in a world where we're less and less aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
I wear a tie now because nobody else does.
Yeah.
And people comment on it all the time. People apologize, like who come to meet with me and so forth, because they haven't dressed sufficiently. And of course, I immediately go, it's fine. Mm-hmm. But you create an impression with your image, and it's way quicker than anything you're going to say. So for those of us that go, oh, I dress like this because I wanna, I say, well, good luck.
Mm-hmm. That's good for you.
I go home on the weekend and dress for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I come to work to dress, look like somebody that you would be willing to leave your life savings with to look after.
Yeah.
Now that's, if I was servicing a 20-year-old market, I might dress differently, because again, I would be trying to figure out what's the comfort zone for that person. What's the comfort zone for the market that I'm trying to work into? But I don't dress for work for my comfort. I dress for the job I believe I'm here to do.
Yeah, I heard that quote when I was in college, and it has every day has kind of guided me in how I dress when I get up in the morning. It really does. There's some things you just don't wear outside.
And like I look at you now, great look, great, there's no hoodie and things like that, things that would actually take down the image that you're creating. You look fabulous on screen and you come across with such confidence and knowledge. Part of it is because when you appeared on this screen, you gave me that image, which gave me that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for that.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Now, tell us, how can we connect with you? How can we find you? I know that you are now beginning to do a lot of public speaking. Tell us where we can find you and connect with you and attend one of your speeches.
Well, you can, and I'll add this one to the list. There's a library of podcasts that I've been doing, and really it's just so I can share some of this messaging. But there is a website, and it's simply called timtownsend.com.au. It's an Australian one, so it's an AU at the end. And people can pick up my contact details there. They'll pick up links to the different podcasts that I've done. I've done this, and so now in my career, what I'm starting to do is make myself available to be available into the US, for instance, for some of the conferencing and things like that. And if people really want to explore that message of, and it's big business, small business, every business, it's an untapped market of personal service, and it can fit all of those business models if you take a focus on it and figure out how to do it. And I can certainly help people on that particular journey.
Fantastic. Tim, I want to thank you so much for coming on this afternoon and sharing your time with us in presence.
An absolute pleasure. It's been a terrific to have a chat.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.